To discuss this further, I'm joined now from Amman by Ziad Samaha. He is the manager of the Marine and Coastal Zones Management Program. From Beirut, Sara Kamel. She is the projects coordinator at the Lebanon Eco Movement. And completing our panel, we have Nadine Mazloum. She is a multimedia journalist and blogger. Thanks all three so much for joining us. Let me begin in Amman. Ziad, you take serious issue with this LARI study. Why?
Well, LARI actually, their scope and their mandate is over agricultural research, and not specifically the sea or the marine environment. They might have the equipment, or the tools to analyze the water, but what they did is actually they analyzed and they took samples in the highly contaminated areas. So in science, this is called research bias, because when you're doing sampling, you have to take random samples. But what they said and what we saw, all the samples taken were at either an overflow of wastewater that goes straight into the sea, which we know that there is. We know that there is pollution, but then the report shows like as if the sea is a kind of an acid pool. And it's a little bit shocking. We have a lot of interesting things in the sea in Lebanon. Yes, we do have pollution, but 2 years ago, we did the first deep sea marine survey in Lebanon, and we discovered more than 200 species. But none of them went on the media because it's not scandalous, it's not drama, and it's not shocking. Unfortunately, nowadays, it's either because everybody has a smartphone and they just want to publish everything, or it's just because, people love tabloids and just the silly news circulate faster.
So only bad news is actual news. But Ziad, let me ask you, what was so wrong with the results that LARI came up with?
Not the results. The results were right. But sampling in a highly polluted area, either like at the sewage or at the overflow of the wastewater or next to a dump site, definitely you're going to have a highly contaminated, polluted area. But when you're doing a study and a research, you have to do it, and you have to do a random sampling, like what the CNRS did. Thanks.
Okay, well, let me ask Nadine then. I mean, tell us just how bad the waters around Lebanon are. I mean, should swimming be banned? Should fishing be banned? Or is this all just too dramatic?
Look, if we're going to look at this from an objective point of view, if we're going to just take a look at the Arctic Sea, there is actually microplastic that the scientific community and a lot of studies have discovered. And this, we're talking about the Arctic Sea. So we really need to look at this from an objective point of view. The thing is, wherever there is man, there will be pollution. This is just a matter of fact. But if we're going to look at where to swim, I think that there are standards that the CNRS did follow in their studies. And according to these standards that were put not by someone random, but actually by the World Health Organization, the level of toxicity that was found wasn't actually all that dangerous in a lot of spots. So a lot of spots in Lebanon are safe for swimming, whereas a lot of spots aren't. As Ziad said, there are a lot of spots where there are raw sewage is being drained or is being poured into the sea. And to take a sample from that exact area, of course, it's going to show that you are not supposed to be swimming in that area. So you just have to look at it from like an objective point of view.
Okay, but Nadine, I'll let you quickly address then the suspicions here, because some are saying that this study was produced by LARI to serve certain corporate interests. Do you believe that's the case?
I mean, there is a lot of truth to it. If you look at just one of the most recent happenings or one of the most recent incidents that happened in Lebanon, one of the last public beaches was usurped in Beirut, and that was taken by a lot of corporate interests that go hand in hand with the Lebanese ruling elite. So when people see that there is just no hope or there's no point in saving a sea or saving a beach, they won't fight for it. Some activists did put up a fight for the last public beach in Beirut, which is called Ramlet al-Bayda. But a lot of people just lost hope because, I mean, it was highly polluted, it was highly contaminated. So really going on with that narrative that the entire sea is contaminated, there's nothing to fight for, will extremely discourage people from wanting to take ownership of those seas. And this will leave it just wide open for a lot of investors who see a lot of opportunity in this sort of scenario. They come in, they change the course or the pipelines of a lot of raw sewage. They move them to to more disadvantaged areas. And people just, you know, they raise their hands up in the air and they say, we give up. Like, the sea's already polluted. We're not going to fight for it. So, yes, there is a lot of truth when it comes to that.
Okay, Sara, let me ask if you actually accept that argument. Those that are suspicious and say that this Lowry report was produced to benefit certain corporate interests. Do you accept that criticism?
Yes, actually, we have seen the results of Lowry report actually only from the media, what they have shown and published in the media. As for the pollution, we know it's there. We know that there's much pollutants, and it's transmitted to humans through the animals and fish, and as well through while there's some areas that are unfit for swimming. So the results are really bad from the CNRS reports that was done for the last 3 years, and from the Lowry report as well.
Okay, but you don't think the Lowry report is biased?
Actually, we rely more on the scientific reports, and unfortunately that the two reports that were done were not done on all the coastline, the Lebanese coastline, and they choose, for example, for the CNRS, they only choose 25 spots, where for the heavy metal they choose only 3 places, Beirut, Saida, and Tripoli, where when we have such rate of pollution, we really need to ask for weekly reports monitored by the municipalities on the coastline to know exactly what's going on and what's happening, and a report to people to know where they can go for swimming and where it's safe.
Okay.
So,
Ziad, I saw you had a comment to make. I'll let you respond there.
The heavy metal study was done on fish, not on sites, but it was done at these 3 landing sites. And the heavy metal, actually, you either get it from sediments with a long term, or you need to do it in a bioaccumulator that is a fish. So when they took the fish and they studied the samples in these fish to assess the heavy metals, it's not a site, it's not from a spot, because water is too different to study. The water body moves. It's not terrestrial. We cannot really apply terrestrial or freshwater techniques at the sea. You have currents, you have depths, you have turbidity, you have salinity, you have a lot of factors that can affect, and you have all the anthropogenic activities that are human-based that change the coast, either in terms of marina or coastal development. But again, for the sampling of the heavy metal, it was done in the fish but not inside. So you take something that accumulates this in their system, and that's the difference.
Okay, but Ziad, explain. I mean, because from what I've understood, you are among those skeptics that have criticized the motivations of this report and how it could dangerously serve the interest of developers and oil corporations that are looking to drill in a sea that they can now claim is already basically dead. So they can serve the greater good by serving economic interests of all of Lebanon by drilling for oil in Lebanese waters.
Okay, I'm going to give you another example, away from the sea and away from everything. If, for example, I go and I tell you I need to rent you have a nice country house and I need to rent it for a weekend party. If it's nice and clean and a good condition, you'll tell me, please take care of it. I don't want you to mess it. But if you promote it as a messed up, dirty, filthy, do you think that I will take care of it? Do you think I will be cautious? No. So how we presented our sea before any exploration or drilling or any other activity that might come in the near future, whether oil and gas or anything else, when I tell someone that, oh, yeah, it's already rubbish, it's already dirty, so people will not be interested in saving and protecting it. But when we discovered in the last survey more than 200 species, but nobody was interested, and nobody promoted this, not even the local media, not even universities or anybody, but the other video or the data went too viral because just people love the drama. You know, we're becoming a bit drama queens, so everybody is motivated with the negative. Yeah. Nobody is interested in the positive side, and it's really shocking.
Okay, Sara, let me ask you, I mean, do you feel that there is a danger of sorts in the drama that's been created from these reports, or do you think they're transparent and fair and that the Lebanese will respond accordingly and fairly?
Okay, unfortunately,
no, let me get Sarah's
not
response
exactly.
quickly.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, not drama queens, but since the government is not implementing like solutions and projects that are aligned with the sustainable development goals that Lebanon has contributed in 2015, and so we see the landfills that were implemented along the coastline, as well as the sewage channels that are not treated, and we have some as well plants that are not working. So I think from there that the Lebanese people, they take it from, they look at the negative side of things, and they're more, yeah, they rely more on they're looking for the negative more than the positive things, because they know what is going on in the country.
Okay, so Nadine, let me ask you, if the water is technically not at the point of no return, what needs to be done now to protect it for the Lebanese people, and particularly for the recreational and natural use of your coastal waters?
I think this is a more technical question for the experts, but I mean, as a citizen and as a journalist living in Lebanon, I would like to see a collaboration between civil society and the government. I think we have to work together hand in hand in order to protect what remains of our natural resources, be they maritime, be they the mountains, be they, you know, any sort of natural resource. It has to be a collaboration between civil society, between activists, between the government. And I think it's really up to a lot of organizations to raise awareness and to give hope that it's not beyond hope, it's not tragic. We can regain some of our natural resources and natural sites. And, you know, just one example I can give in this regard is just one of the conversations I had with a marine journalist. And she said, if we remove all these toxins and what is causing all this pollution at these highly contaminated areas in the sea can recover in a matter of weeks, months, years, depending on how toxic, on the level of toxicity. So there is hope. And I think we really have to stress that and, you know, just give people the tools that will enable them to create that hope and make that change.
But Ziad, this is your area of specialization. So, I mean, having heard what Nadine said, it seems you agree. But how urgent is it? Because the pictures we're seeing are quite frightening. The pollution, just the garbage that's accumulated around the coast, it almost looks like you're at the point of no return from a visual aspect.
Okay, what should scare us, all of us, is not what we see, it's what we don't see. What should scare us is what's happening below the waves and the species that we're losing, and the key species and the key habitat. The rubbish is bad and ugly and visually disturbing, and then some of it might turn into microplastic. But the idea is there's something already there. As IUCN, we have worked with the Ministry of Environment. We have developed for them, and together with them, the strategy for marine protected area. Lebanon was the first Arab state to develop a marine protected area strategy. There's 2 new laws for 2 marine protected areas that are at the parliament that should be passed anytime soon, I hope so. There's more work. We're working more on a marine planning. And the idea now is to work together. In the past days, everybody was opposing the government. What I would suggest and promote and advocate for is work together. If we know that they have weaknesses, we can help them change. But if we keep on going the wrong way and just attacking and opposing, and I think they might have even a fierce or a negative reaction. It's very good to work together, make change happen, and we really need to think on the long term, on sustainability of these things. One more thing that I'd like to add is like a lot of tropical and really nice destinations that we all visit and we all want to go there, they do also have the polluted side of their islands. Pollution is us, it's humans. We're a consumer society, we consume a lot. We throw a lot, we have a lot of garbage. So we also need to change our behavior. We need to stop and reduce those plastics. We need to change when we can change. And the idea is conservation is not just a one day. It's not a street demonstration. It's not something you take by force. You need to convince people. You need to convince the polluter to change. You need to convince the fisherman that is fishing in an unsustainable way to move towards sustainable. You need to convince the hotels to have decaying pool and filtering process or waste treatment, because that's where their clients are swimming and that's where the money is coming. So the idea is not to attack. It's to educate them with a smile and not preach or attack.
Right.
That's how I believe. That's how we work with everybody. We try to bring in together, even though we know that sometimes it takes a lot of time. But yeah, I'll stop.
In the end, every single one of us has to take responsibility. Ziad, I'll have to give you the last word because unfortunately we're out of time for this segment of the Newsmakers. I'd like to thank all three of you so much for joining us.